Have you ever had one of those moments where your entire life shifts in a single night? Where what starts as a simple mistake becomes the beginning of something you never saw coming? That's exactly what happened to me during a business conference in Seattle. My name is Ryan, I'm 28, and I work in tech marketing. I thought I had everything figured out: my career, my carefully constructed walls, my safe, predictable life. Then I met Ethan, and everything I thought I knew got turned completely upside down. This is my story. It's messy, it's real, and it changed everything. The rain hammered against the taxi window as I scrolled through my emails, already exhausted, and I hadn't even checked into the hotel yet. 3 days. That's all this conference was supposed to be. 3 days of networking, forcing smiles, and pretending I enjoyed small talk with strangers who only cared about my company's latest campaign metrics. We're here. "Sir," the driver announced, pulling up to the Roosevelt Grand, a boutique hotel in downtown Seattle that looked like it had been plucked straight from a vintage postcard. I paid, grabbed my luggage, and dashed through the downpour into the warm, amber-lit lobby. The scent of cedar and vanilla candles immediately wrapped around me, a welcome contrast to the synthetic air of the plane. "Welcome to the Roosevelt Grand," checking in. The receptionist, a young woman with kind eyes and a name tag that read Melissa, smiled at me. "Yes, Ryan Chen. I should have a reservation." Her fingers danced across the keyboard, then paused. Her smile faltered slightly. Let me just... One moment." My stomach tightened. Those words never meant anything good. "Mr. Chen, I'm so sorry. There seems to be an issue with your reservation. The conference block was overbooked, and we've had to consolidate some rooms." "Consolidate?" I repeated slowly. "Yes. You'll be sharing a room with another conference attendee. It's a double room with 2 queen beds, very spacious. We've already discounted your rate by 50% for the inconvenience." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Of course this would happen. "And there are no other rooms available?" "Anywhere." She shook her head sympathetically. "Every hotel in the downtown area is completely booked because of the conference and a Seahawks game this weekend. I've already checked." "Fine," I sighed. "Who am I rooming with?" She glanced at her screen. An Ethan Matthews. He actually just checked in about 20 minutes ago. Great. Some random stranger. Probably some overly enthusiastic sales bro who'd want to network until midnight. Just what I needed. Room 412. Here's your key card. Again, we're so sorry for the inconvenience. I forced a polite smile and headed toward the elevator, dragging my suitcase behind me. The universe had a twisted sense of humor sometimes. Standing outside room 412, I hesitated before sliding the key card. I could hear music playing softly inside, something indie and mellow, not the aggressive gym playlist I'd been expecting. I knocked first, waiting a beat before letting myself in. "Hello?" I called out, pushing the door open. The room was indeed spacious, with 2 queen beds separated by a nightstand, a desk area by the window, and a door leading to what I assumed was the bathroom. And sitting on the bed closest to the window, laptop open and papers scattered around him, was quite possibly the most beautiful man I'd ever seen in person. He looked up, and time did that cliché thing where it actually seemed to slow down. Ethan Matthews had dark, tousled hair that looked like he'd been running his hands through it while working, deep brown eyes behind black-rimmed glasses, and a jawline that could cut glass. He wore a simple gray Henley that hugged his lean, athletic frame in a way that should be illegal. When he smiled, this warm, genuine smile that reached his eye, forgot how to breathe for a second. "Hey, you must be Ryan." "I'm Ethan." He stood up, extending his hand. I shook it, trying to ignore how warm his palm was, how his grip was firm but not aggressive. "Yeah, hi. Sorry about this situation. Are you kidding? This is way better than being stuck with some of the people I've met at these conferences." He laughed, a sound that felt like sunshine breaking through clouds. "At least you don't look like you're going to try to sell me cryptocurrency or talk about your startup at 3 in the morning. I couldn't help but smile. "The bar is pretty low, huh?" "Rock bottom," he confirmed with a grin. "I already claimed this bed, but honestly, They're identical, so pick whichever you want. Bathrooms there, closets there. I'm a pretty quiet roommate. I promise I don't snore. Good to know. I moved to the other bed, setting my suitcase down. What do you do? Since we're apparently living together for the next 3 days, I'm a graphic designer. Freelance mostly, but I work with a creative agency that sponsors this conference. You, marketing strategist. Tech company. Ah, so you're one of the people who tells me my designs need to pop more and have synergy. His eyes sparkled with amusement. I actually laughed, which felt foreign after the long day. I promise I've never used the word synergy unironically in my life. Then we might actually survive this. He sat back down on his bed, crossing his legs. Are you going to the opening reception tonight? It starts in about an hour. I glanced at my watch. The thought of more forced socializing made me want to crawl under the covers. I should. Networking and all that. Translation. You'd rather get a root canal? Is it that obvious? Takes one to know one, Ethan said. I'm terrible at these things. I always end up in the corner, pretending to check my phone while actually playing Candy Crush. Something about his honesty was disarming. Most people at these events wore masks, polished, professional versions of themselves that bore little resemblance to reality. But Ethan seemed real. Refreshingly, dangerously real. I tell you what, he continued, closing his laptop. We go together, suffer through it for an hour, then sneak out and find somewhere actually interesting in this city. Deal? I should have said no. I should have maintained professional boundaries kept to myself, like I always did. But something about Ethan's smile, about the way he looked at me like I was a co-conspirator rather than a stranger, made me nod. Deal. An hour later, we were standing in the hotel's conference ballroom. Surrounded by the low hum of networking chatter and the clink of wine glasses, Ethan had changed into a dark blue button-down that made his eyes look even more striking. And I'd switched to a black sweater that my sister always said made me look approachable. So, tell me, Ryan Chen, Ethan said, sipping his wine as we stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Seattle skyline. What brought you to the exciting world of tech marketing? You really want to know? Or are you just making conversation? I really want to know. His gaze was steady, genuine. I hesitated. People didn't usually ask questions they actually wanted answers to at these things. I guess I liked the idea of telling stories. Marketing, when it's done right, is just storytelling. Connecting people to something that might improve their lives or make them feel something. That's actually beautiful, Ethan said softly. Most people would just say money or opportunity. Those two, I admitted with a small smile. But yeah, mostly the stories. See, that makes sense? You have that look? What look? Like you're always observing. Taking mental notes? Seeing the story underneath the surface? He tilted his head slightly, studying me in a way that made my skin warm. Am I right? Maybe, I said, taking a sip of wine to avoid his gaze. He was right, of course. I'd spent my whole life watching from the sidelines, analyzing, protecting myself by staying detached. What about you? Why design? Because I'm terrible with words, he said with a self-deprecating laugh. But I can communicate through images and colors and composition in ways I never could with sentences. Plus, there's something magical about creating something beautiful out of nothing. That is magical, I agreed, and I meant it. We fell into an easy conversation, the kind where minutes disappeared without notice. Ethan told me about growing up in Portland, about his college years studying art, about the terror and freedom of going freelance. I found myself sharing more than I typically did about my family's expectations, about choosing a practical career over my teenage dream of being a writer, about always feeling like I was performing a role rather than living authentically. Do you ever feel like you're waiting for your real life to start? I asked suddenly, the wine loosening my tongue. Like you're just going through the motions until something shifts and everything clicks into place. Ethan's expression softened with understanding. Every single day, he said quietly. Sometimes I wonder if everyone feels that way, and we're all just too scared to admit it. Our eyes met, held. There was something electric in the air between us. Something that made my heart beat faster and my carefully constructed walls feel suddenly flimsy. So Ethan said, breaking the moment with a mischievous smile, I think we've done our time. Ready to blow this popsicle stand? I glanced around at the sea of suits and forced smiles. Absolutely. 20 minutes later, we were walking through the rain-soaked streets of Seattle, sharing an umbrella that Ethan had miraculously produced from his messenger bag. The city was alive with light and sound, neon signs reflecting off wet pavement. The distant sound of live music spilling from bars. The scent of coffee and rain and possibility. There's this place, Ethan said, navigating us down a side street. A friend told me about it. It's supposed to have the best late-night ramen in the city. Lead the way. The restaurant, tucked between a record store and a bookshop, was tiny and warm and perfect. We slid into a booth near the back, ordered bowls of steaming ramen, and continued talking like we'd known each other for years instead of hours. Can I ask you something personal? Ethan said, twirling noodles around his chopsticks. My stomach tightened slightly. Sure. Are you out? At work, I mean. The question hung in the air. I'd gotten good at dodging it, at keeping that part of myself separate from my professional life. But something about Ethan's open, non-judgmental expression made me want to be honest. Not really, I admitted. I mean, I don't hide it exactly, but I don't broadcast it either. My company is progressive in theory, but I've seen how differently people treat you once they know. The assumptions they make? Ethan nodded slowly. I get that. I'm out, but I also work for myself, so I have more freedom. But I remember what it was like before, that constant calculation of how much of yourself to reveal, how much to hide. It's exhausting. Exactly. Relief flooded through me. Everyone acts like it's so easy now, like we should just be ourselves and everything will be fine. But it's more complicated than that. It really is, Ethan agreed. For what it's worth, I think you're brave. Whatever you choose to share or not share, it's your call, and it doesn't make you any less authentic. Something in my chest cracked open a little at his words. When was the last time someone had given me permission to be complicated, to not have everything figured out? Thank you, I said quietly. That means more than you know. We ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes, the kind of quiet that felt intimate rather than awkward. I found myself stealing glances at him, the way his glasses slid down his nose slightly when he leaned over his bowl, the concentration on his face as he navigated his chopsticks, the small smile that played at his lips. What? He asked, catching me looking. Nothing, I said quickly, feeling heat rise to my cheeks. I'm glad it was you. As a roommate, I mean? This could have been so much worse. His smile widened. Right back at you, Ryan Chen. The way he said my name, both parts, with this careful attention, made something flutter in my chest. We stayed at the ramen place until they started, giving us looks that suggested it was time to leave. The walk back to the hotel felt too short. The rain having softened to a gentle mist that caught the streetlights like scattered diamonds. I had a really good time tonight, Ethan said as we rode the elevator up to our floor. Much better than pretending to care about marketing metrics. Some of those metrics are fascinating, I protested with mock offense. Sure they are. He bumped my shoulder with his, a casual touch that somehow felt significant. Back in the room, we moved around each other with surprising ease, taking turns in the bathroom, settling into our respective beds. I changed into my sleep clothes, just a t-shirt and pajama pants, and tried not to notice the way Ethan's shirt rode up slightly when he reached to turn off the overhead light, revealing a strip of toned stomach. Good night, Ryan, he said softly through the darkness. Good night. Ethan. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to his breathing slowly even out. What was happening? I'd been in countless situations with other men in locker rooms, at the gym, in perfectly platonic friendships without feeling this way. This awareness. This pull. I'd built my life on control, on keeping my feelings carefully compartmentalized. But Ethan, with his easy smile and genuine questions, and the way he looked at me like he could see straight through my defenses, he was making all my carefully constructed walls feel dangerously unstable. And the terrifying part? A small, reckless part of me wanted to let them fall, Morning came too quickly. Sunlight streaming through the curtains I'd forgotten to fully close. I blinked awake, momentarily disoriented, before remembering where I was. The hotel room. The conference, Ethan. I turned my head slightly and saw him still asleep in the other bed. One arm thrown over his face, his dark hair adorably messy against the white pillow. His chest rose and fell slowly, peacefully, and I allowed myself a moment to just look, to notice the way the morning light painted him in shades of gold and shadow. The vulnerable softness of his expression in sleep. Then his alarm went off a gentle piano melody and he groaned. Fumbling to silence it, "Morning," I said quietly. He lowered his arm, squinting at me through half-closed eyes. Even disheveled and barely awake, he was unfairly attractive. Is it, though? Is it really morning? Or is this some cruel illusion? I laughed. Definitely morning. We have that keynote in an hour, right? The thing we have to attend like responsible adults. He sat up, running a hand through his hair in a way that only made it more charmingly messy. Dibs on the shower first. I promise I'm quick. All yours. While he showered, I checked my emails, responded to a few messages from my team, and tried very hard not to think about the fact that Ethan was currently naked on the other side of that door. Water running over, nope, not going there. He emerged 15 minutes later, wrapped in a towel, steam billowing out behind him. Droplets of water clung to his shoulders, his chest, and I suddenly became very interested in my phone screen. All yours, he said cheerfully, seemingly oblivious to my internal crisis. I'll grab us coffee from the lobby. How do you take it? Black, 2 sugars. Thanks. After he left, I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Get it together, Ryan. He's just a guy. A beautiful, kind, funny guy who you're sharing a hotel room with and who makes you feel things you haven't felt in years, but still, just a guy. The pep talk didn't help much. The keynote was exactly as mind-numbing as expected. We sat near the back, and I became acutely aware of every time Ethan's knee accidentally brushed against mine, every time he leaned over to whisper a sarcastic comment about the speaker's overuse of corporate buzzwords. If he says paradigm shift one more time, I'm staging a walkout, Ethan murmured, his breath warm against my ear. I suppressed a smile. That's pretty much his catchphrase at this point. Paradigm shift, the speaker announced dramatically. And Ethan and I looked at each other and barely contained our laughter. It felt like being back in high school, sharing inside jokes with the person sitting next to you, except infinitely better because this person made my entire body feel alive with awareness. After the keynote, we split up for different breakout sessions. Mine was on emerging social media trends, and I found myself only half listening, my mind wandering back to Ethan, to the easy way we'd fallen into rhythm with each other, to how natural it felt to be around him, like slipping into your favorite sweater. During the lunch break, I spotted him across the banquet hall, laughing at something an older woman was saying. He caught my eye and his whole face brightened, waving me over. Ryan, come meet Margaret. She's a designer too, and she's giving me the inside scoop on the industry gossip. Margaret, a woman in her 60s with silver hair and kind eyes, smiled warmly. Ethan tells me you two are roommates by accident. That's quite the meet cute. My face heated. Just a booking mix-up. The best stories always start with accidents, Margaret said knowingly, a twinkle in her eye that suggested she saw more than we were saying. You boys enjoy the conference? And Ethan, send me your portfolio. I meant what I said about potential collaborations. After she left, Ethan turned to me with barely contained excitement. She works with some of the biggest creative agencies on the West Coast. This could be huge for me. That's amazing, I said genuinely. Conferences aren't completely useless. It's only because you're here making them bearable. He said it lightly, casually, but something in his eyes made my heart skip. What's your afternoon look like? 2 more sessions, then I'm free. You? Same, there's this panel on design thinking that I actually want to attend. But after, he paused, seeming to weigh his words. Would you want to explore the city more? Together? I'd like that. A lot. His smile could have powered the entire building. It's a date. I mean, not a date, just You know what I mean? Yeah, I said softly, though part of me wished it was a date. Date? I know what you mean. The afternoon sessions dragged interminably. I kept checking my watch, counting down until I could see Ethan again, which was ridiculous. I'd known him for barely 24 hours. This intensity, this connection, it didn't make sense. But sometimes the most important things in life don't make sense at first. They just feel right. Finally, mercifully, the last session ended. I texted Ethan, "Done, meet in the lobby." His response came immediately, "Already here." Grabbed my camera, ready. I found him by the front entrance, a vintage-looking camera hanging around his neck, wearing jeans and a forest green jacket that made his eyes look like melted chocolate. "You're a photographer too?" I asked, hobby, mostly. "But Seattle's beautiful," and I figured. He shrugged, looking suddenly shy. "I don't know, I thought it might be nice to capture some moments." We spent the next few hours wandering through Pike Place Market, watching the famous fish throwers, sampling local chocolates and cheeses, getting lost in the maze of crafts and flowers. Ethan photographed everything, the Space Needle in the distance, the vibrant tulips at the flower stalls, the way the fading afternoon light hit the water. "Can I take one of you?" he asked as we stood overlooking Elliott Bay. "I'm not very photogenic," I protested. Respectfully, "That's complete nonsense." He raised the camera. "Just be natural. Look at the water, or the city, or whatever feels right." I turned toward the bay, trying to relax, feeling hyper-aware of his gaze on me through the lens. When I glanced back at him, he was lowering the camera, a soft expression on his face. "Perfect," he said quietly. "Can I see?" He hesitated, then showed me the screen. The photo was beautiful not because of me, but because of the way he'd captured the moment. The golden hour light, the city behind me, and something in my expression that looked like hope. "Ethan, this is incredible. You have a real gift. I just photograph what I see," he said, his eyes holding mine. "And you're pretty easy to make look good." The compliment hung between us, weighted with something unsaid. A group of tourists jostled past, breaking the moment, and we continued walking. "Can I ask you something?" I ventured as we strolled along the waterfront. "Do you have someone? Back home, I mean? A boyfriend or—" "Please say no," I thought. "Please say no." "No," Ethan said, shoving his hands in his pockets. "I was seeing someone about 6 months ago, but it didn't work out. He wanted different things. Marriage, kids, the whole traditional package. And I'm not against that eventually. But I wasn't ready to commit to forever with someone I didn't feel that crazy, all-consuming thing with. You know?" "I know exactly what you mean," I said. "Everyone tells you to be practical about relationships, to find someone compatible and build something stable. But part of me keeps waiting for that lightning strike moment. That person who makes you want to throw practicality out the window. Have you ever had that? The lightning strike." I looked at him, at the way the wind ruffled his hair, at the genuine interest in his expression, and thought, I might be having it right now. "Not until recently," I said carefully. His gaze intensified. "Recently?" "Yeah, very recently." My heart hammered. "What about you?" "Same," he said softly. "It's kind of terrifying, actually, how quickly it can hit you." We'd stopped walking. People flowed around us like water around stones, but we stood frozen in our own bubble of tension and possibility. "Ryan," Ethan started, then stopped. "I don't want to make this weird between us, but I need you to know that last night and today, this has been the most real connection I've felt with anyone in a long time, maybe ever. And I know we just met, and it's crazy, but it's not crazy," I interrupted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I feel it too. This. Whatever this is." "Yeah." Hope bloomed across his face. "Yeah," he stepped closer. Close enough that I could see the flecks of amber in his brown eyes. Close enough that if I just leaned forward slightly. "I really want to kiss you right now," he breathed. My entire body was on fire. "What's stopping you?" "The fact that we're in public, and I want to do this right." And he laughed, running a hand through his hair. "God, I'm usually more smooth than this." "I don't want smooth," I said honestly. I want real. And this use is the most real thing I've felt in years. Something shifted in his expression, a decision being made. He took my hand, lacing our fingers together, and the simple touch sent electricity through my entire body. Come on, he said. Let's go back. The walk back to the hotel felt like it took both an eternity and no time at all. We didn't talk much, but our hands stayed linked, and the anticipation building between us was almost unbearable. In the elevator alone, he pulled me closer. Our foreheads touched, our breaths mingling. Is this okay? He asked. More than okay. The elevator dinged. Our floor. We walked down the hallway in charged silence, and when we reached our room, Ethan fumbled with the keycard twice before getting the door open, the moment it clicked shut behind us. All the careful restraint evaporated. He cupped my face in his hands and kissed me, and it was everything soft and desperate and perfect all at once. His lips were warm, tasting faintly of the coffee we'd had earlier. And when I responded, deepening the kiss, he made this small sound of pleasure that nearly undid me completely. We stumbled backward toward the beds, kissing like we were trying to make up for lost time, like we'd been waiting for this our entire lives. His hands slid under my shirt, warm against my skin, and I gasped against his mouth. Tell me to stop, he murmured between kisses, and I will, immediately. Don't stop, I managed. Please don't stop. We fell onto his bed door, maybe mine. I couldn't tell anymore and didn't care. His weight pressed me into the mattress, solid and real and perfect, and I wrapped my arms around him, pulling him closer. Never wanting to let go. Ryan, he breathed against my neck, pressing kisses along my jaw, my throat, making me arch into him. You're so beautiful. So perfect. I'd had hookups before, had relationships that were fine, satisfactory, but nothing had ever felt like this. Like coming home. Like finding something I hadn't even known I was searching for. We explored each other slowly, reverently, learning what made the other gasp or moan or whisper yes, there, please. Clothes disappeared gradually, his jacket. My shirt barriers falling away until we were skin to skin. Heartbeat to heartbeat. I've got you, Ethan whispered, his eyes searching mine in the dim light. I've got you. And he did. He held me like I was precious, kissed me like I was air, touched me like he was memorizing every inch. When we finally came together, it was overwhelming in the best possible way, intense and intimate, and so emotionally raw that I felt tears prick at my eyes. After, we lay tangled together, his head on my chest, my fingers running through his hair, both of us breathing hard. That was, I started. Not sure how to finish. Yeah, he agreed, pressing a kiss over my heart. It really was. I don't do this, I said softly. I don't just, with people I barely know? He lifted his head to look at me. I don't either. But you don't feel like someone I barely know. You feel like someone I've been waiting to meet my entire life. The words should have scared me. They were too much, too soon, too honest. But instead, they felt like truth. Stay right here, I said, tightening my arms around him. Don't go. Not going anywhere, he promised. Not tonight. Not for as long as you'll have me. We fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other. And for the first time in longer than I could remember, I felt completely, perfectly at peace. I woke up to soft morning light and the sensation of fingers gently tracing patterns on my shoulder. Ethan was already awake, propped up on one elbow, watching me with such tenderness that it made my chest ache. Hi, I said, my voice rough with sleep. Hi yourself, he smiled, leaning down to kiss me softly. Sleep okay? Better than I have in months. I stretched, hyper-aware of our bare skin touching, of his leg tangled with mine. What time is it? Early. We have about an hour before we need to get ready for the conference. It's the conference. Reality crashed back in the final day of sessions. Then we'd both go home to our separate lives. The thought made my stomach twist. Ethan, I started, not sure what I wanted to say. I know, he said quietly. I'm thinking about it too, about what happens after today. I sat up, pulling the sheet around my waist. I don't want this to end. Whatever this is, I don't want it to just be a conference thing that we look back on fondly but never talk about again. Neither do I. He took my hand, threading our fingers together. Ryan, I live in Portland. You're in San Francisco. That's not that far, right? Like a 2-hour flight? Or a 10-hour drive, I added. So, we could make this work. If we wanted to. If you wanted to. The vulnerability in his voice broke my heart and put it back together simultaneously. I want to, I said firmly. I really, really want to. But I need to be honest with you about something. His expression became serious. Okay. I'm not good at this. At being open. At letting people in. I've spent so long protecting myself, keeping parts of me hidden that I don't know how to just be vulnerable. And you deserve someone who can give you everything, not someone who's going to hold back. Ethan was quiet for a moment, considering his words. Can I tell you something? You've already been more open with me in 2 days than some people I dated for months. You're braver than you think you are, Ryan. And I'm not expecting perfection. I'm just asking for honesty for you to try. That's all any of us can do. What if I mess this up? What if I hurt you? What if you don't? He cupped my face gently. What if instead of catastrophizing, we just take this one day at a time and see where it goes? No pressure, no expectations beyond being honest with each other. I leaned into his touch, letting myself feel the comfort of it. When did you get so wise? I've had my heart broken enough times to learn a few things, he said with a self-deprecating smile. Mostly that the only thing worse than trying and failing is not trying at all and spending the rest of your life wondering what if. I don't want to wonder what if, I admitted. I want to know what is, then let's find out together. He kissed me again, slow and sweet. And I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, this could work. The final day of the conference felt surreal, like moving through a dream. We attended our respective sessions, but I couldn't focus. My mind kept drifting back to the night before, to this morning, to the conversation about trying to make this work. During lunch, I spotted Ethan talking animatedly with Margaret again. He caught my eye and beckoned me over. Ryan, Margaret was just telling me about a project her agency's working on that might need someone with your expertise. She suggested we might collaborate. Margaret smiled knowingly. I figured if you two are going to be spending time together anyway, might as well make it productive. The project is for a sustainable fashion brand. They need both design work and a comprehensive marketing strategy. Interested? I looked at Ethan, saw the excitement and hope in his eyes, and felt something click into place. The universe, it seemed, was conspiring to keep us together. It's definitely interested, I said. Wonderful. I'll send you both the details. Consider this your first official project as a team. She winked before walking away. Did that just happen? Ethan asked, looking slightly dazed. I think the universe just gave us a reason to see each other for work, I said. Unable to stop smiling, the universe has excellent timing. That evening, our last in Seattle, we skipped the closing reception entirely. Instead, we ordered room service, opened a bottle of wine, and sprawled across one of the beds, talking about everything and nothing. Tell me something you've never told anyone, Ethan said. Pouring us both another glass of wine, I thought for a moment. Sometimes I write. Stories, poems, random thoughts. I have notebooks full of them, but I've never shown them to anyone. I'm terrified they'll be terrible, or that sharing them will make them less mine somehow. That's not silly at all, Ethan said seriously. Creation is vulnerable. Sharing it makes it even more so. But Ryan, I bet your writing is beautiful. Because you're thoughtful and observant. And those are the qualities that make great writers. Maybe someday I'll show you, I said softly. I'd be honored. He set down his glass, shifting to face me more fully. My turn. I told you I went freelance, but I didn't tell you why. I had a panic attack at my old job, a full-blown. Couldn't breathe. Thought. I was dying panic attack. It terrified me. I realized I was so unhappy that my body was literally screaming at me to stop. So I quit the next day without a real plan, and everyone thought I was crazy. Maybe I was, but it was the best decision I ever made. I reached out, taking his hand. That's incredibly brave. Most people stay in situations that hurt them because change is scarier than the known pain, like staying closeted at work. He asked gently. I flinched slightly. That's different, is it? I'm not judging, Ryan. I'm just saying I know what it's like to hide parts of yourself to feel safe. And I know how much freer you feel when you stop. What if I'm not ready? The words came out small, uncertain. Then you're not ready, and that's Kanchu, 403 MK. But maybe think about what you're protecting yourself from, and whether that protection is worth what you're giving up. I didn't have an answer to that. Not yet. We made love again that night, slower this time, savoring each touch and kiss like we were trying to memorize every sensation. Afterward, lying in the darkness with his arms around me, I felt something shift inside me, a loosening of the tight control I'd kept on my heart for so long. I'm scared, I whispered into the darkness. Of what? Of how much I feel for you already. Of how much it would hurt to lose this? He tightened his arms around me. I'm scared too. But I think the things worth having are always a little scary. Otherwise, everyone would have them. You're annoyingly wise, you know that? I could feel him smile against my shoulder. I'll add it to my resume. Morning came too quickly, bringing with it the reality of checkout and goodbyes. We moved around the room in subdued silence, packing our bags, both avoiding the inevitable. So, Ethan said finally, sitting on his bed, the bed we'd barely used because we'd spent every night tangled together in mine. Portland to San Francisco. Not that far. Not that far, I agreed, though it felt like opposite ends of the universe. I could come visit in 2 weeks. There's a gallery opening I wanted to check out in the Bay Area anyway. I'd love that. Sat beside him, taking his hand. And I'll come to Portland the weekend after. I've always wanted to see Powell's books. You'll love it. We can spend the whole day there. He squeezed my hand. Ryan, I meant what I said. I want to try this. I want to see where this goes. Me too. I leaned my forehead against his. I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you too. But it's only 2 weeks. We can text, video chat, all the modern relationship stuff. Relationship, I repeated, testing the word. If that's what you want to call it. If it's not too fast. It's terrifying and probably too fast and goes against every careful, planned approach I usually take to life, I interrupted. But yes, I want that. I want you. I want us. His smile was like sunrise. Yeah. He kissed me then, soft and sweet and full of promise. And for the first time in my carefully constructed life, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The coffee shop in Portland was cozy, filled with the scent of espresso and old books. I sat at a corner table, my laptop open, working on a proposal for the sustainability campaign Margaret had brought us onto. But mostly, I was watching the door, waiting. Then Ethan walked in, shaking rain from his jacket, his face lighting up when he saw me. He'd cut his hair slightly shorter since I'd last seen him 2 weeks ago. And somehow he was even more beautiful than I remembered. Hey you, he said, sliding into the seat across from me and leaning over to kiss me, unhesitant and open. Hey yourself. In the 3 months since Seattle, we'd made it work. Weekend visits, long video calls, constant texts throughout the day. It wasn't always easy, the distance, the logistics, the moments when I wanted to reach out and touch him but couldn't. But it was worth it. He was worth it. I'd started being more open at work too. Not with any grand announcement, but in small ways, mentioning weekend trips to visit my boyfriend in Portland. Putting a photo of us on my desk, simply existing as my whole self rather than a carefully edited version. And the world hadn't ended. Most people didn't care, and the few who did weren't people I wanted in my life anyway. I have news, Ethan said, his eyes sparkling with excitement. Good news? Margaret's agency wants to hire me full-time. Based out of their San Francisco office? My heart stopped. San Francisco? As in the city where I live. The very same. They want me to head up their creative design department. It's a huge opportunity, Ryan, and it would mean we'd be in the same city, I finished, hardly daring to believe it. We'd be in the same city, he confirmed. I mean, if that's okay with you? I know we haven't talked about living in the same place. I don't want to pressure you. I cut him off with a kiss, deep and full of every feeling I'd been too scared to express before. When we finally pulled apart, both breathless, I said, "It's more than okay. It's perfect." "You're perfect? So you're happy about this?" "Ethan, I'm beyond happy. I paused, gathering courage. "I love you. I think I have since that first night in Seattle when you made me laugh and made me feel like I could be myself. I'm in love with you." His eyes widened, then filled with emotion. "I love you too. God, I love you so much. I've been wanting to say it for weeks, but I didn't want to scare you." "I'm done being scared," I said firmly. "Well, I'm still scared, but I'm not letting fear stop me from this. From us," he laced his fingers through mine across the table. "When I start the new job, we should get a place together. If you want." "No pressure, but yes," I said immediately. "Yes, I want that, a cat or a dog person. Because this is a deal breaker." I laughed. "Cat. Definitely cat. Perfect." "I was hoping you'd say that." He grinned, then grew serious. "Ryan, that night in Seattle when I walked into that hotel room and saw you, something in me just knew. Does that sound crazy?" "No," I said softly, "because I felt it too. Like everything before that moment was just leading me to you, and everything after has been figuring out how to build a life together." He added, "I thought about all the versions of myself. I'd been the careful one, the hidden one, the one who planned everything and took no risks. And then I thought about this version, the one sitting in a Portland coffee shop on a rainy afternoon, holding hands with the man I loved, planning a future I'd never dreamed possible. I'm really happy," I said, the simplicity of it feeling profound. "Right now, in this moment, I'm genuinely, completely happy." "Me too," Ethan said. "And I think we're just getting started." He was right. We were just getting started in a life built not on fear or hiding or careful calculation, but on honesty and vulnerability and love. The kind of love that starts with an accidental hotel room booking and grows into something real and lasting and beautiful. Sometimes, the best things in life are the ones you never planned for, the unexpected moments that change everything. And sometimes, the person who walks into your hotel room by accident is actually walking into your life on purpose, because the universe has a way of knowing what you need before you do. The apartment in San Francisco had exposed brick walls, huge windows that let in gorgeous natural light, and enough space for both our home offices. Ethan had transformed one wall into a gallery of his photographs, including that picture of me in Seattle, the one from our first day together, which he'd had printed and framed. I was in the kitchen, attempting to cook dinner, emphasis on attempting. When I heard his keys in the door, "Honey, I'm home," he called out, a joke that never got old. In the kitchen. Fair warning, I might have set off the smoke alarm. He appeared in the doorway, loosening his tie. He wore suits for work now, which was unfairly attractive. ASE's the situation. "What were you trying to make?" "Your favorite pasta?" I think I burned the sauce. He came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist and resting his chin on my shoulder. "We can order in, but I appreciate the effort. I'm a terrible domestic partner." "You're perfect," he corrected, kissing my neck. "You brought home that marketing award last month, you're about to get promoted, and you make me laugh every single day. I think I can handle ordering takeout." I turned in his arms, looping mine around his neck. "How was your day?" "Good. Great, actually. Margaret asked me to lead the creative direction for our biggest client. It's going to be intense, but exciting." "I'm so proud of you," I said, meaning it completely. "I'm proud of us," he replied. "Look at what we've built, Ryan. From one confused hotel booking to this." I looked around our apartment tower, home filled with both our things, both our lives woven together. On the refrigerator was a calendar marking upcoming visits from friends and family. A pride parade we were attending together. A trip back to Seattle we'd planned for our anniversary. "Best accidental booking ever," I said. "The best," he agreed, then added, "I have something for you, actually." He pulled a small notebook from his messenger bag and handed it to me. It was leather-bound, beautiful, with my initials embossed on the cover. "For your writing," he explained. "I know you've been working on those stories, and I thought, maybe it's time to take it seriously. Submit something. Let the world see what I already know, that you're talented and amazing." Tears pricked at my eyes. "You really think I could?" "I know you could." He cupped my face gently. "You're the bravest person I know, Ryan Chin. You came out at work. You let yourself fall in love. You're building the life you want, instead of the one you thought you should have. Writing is just the next step." "I love you," I said, overwhelmed by gratitude and joy in this incredible man who saw me, Lily saw me and loved what he found. "I love you too." So much we stood there in our kitchen, holding each other, and I thought about that version of myself from a year ago. The one who'd walked into a hotel room, expecting 3 days of boring professional obligation. The one who'd been so scared of being hurt that he'd built walls so high he couldn't see over them. Anymore, I thought about how one unexpected moment, one accidental room booking had changed absolutely everything. And I thought about all the moments still to come, the ones we'd plan and the ones that would surprise us. The challenges we'd face and overcome together, the joy we'd find in building a life side by side. "Hey," Ethan said softly, pulling back to look at me. "Where'd you go?" "Just thinking," I said, smiling, "about how lucky I am, about how glad I am that the hotel overbooked." "Me too," he said. "Every single day, me too." Outside our window, San Francisco was alive with light and possibility. Inside, we were home together, finally, exactly where we belonged. And it all started with sharing a hotel room with a stranger who became my best friend. My love, my home. Sometimes the universe knows exactly what it's doing,